Okay, so one of the most useful ways to deal with tilt or to combat tilt is to shift the blame. So you got to change your perspective here. You're going to shift the blame always towards you. You're never, ever, ever, from now on, you're never going to blame other players. You're only going to blame yourself. This is the cool thing about poker is you can't control other players. You really, really, really can't. I mean, you can bet correctly, you could force them to make tough decisions, but you can't determine whether or not they're going to call, fold, or raise. It's something that's out of your hands. So one of the things you can do to combat tilt is shift the blame towards yourself. So every single time something doesn't go your way, instead of getting so mad at the person across from you, who you can't control, I want you to stop, sit back, relax, and say to yourself, what did I do wrong? What were the mistakes that I made? You know what? Maybe you bet too little pre-flop, and it enticed the player to come in. And if you would have, raised 5x, you would have got everybody to fold, but you only raised 3x. Or maybe, your river bet was way too small and the player decided to call you no matter what. I mean, like, there's tons of mistakes that you could have made. And usually when players are tilting, it's 50-50. Usually, yes, sometimes your opponents do dumb shit or the villain does dumb things, but sometimes you made a mistake. So a good way to deal with tilt is to shift the blame towards yourself. So as soon as something bad happens, you have to stop and think, did I make the right decision? And this is the cool part. Once you look through the hand, you see through the hand, you ask me about it or whatever, ask your friends, and you've reached the conclusion that you didn't make a mistake, just relax. Just relax and know that you made the right decision, and over the long run, you are going to make money. Okay? It's very, very important. You need to shift the blame towards yourself, because you can't control other players. I know it sounds weird, like, how do you blame yourself for playing perfect? But it's a good way to evaluate your game right then and there, and it's a good way to combat tilt. Another thing you do to combat tilt is think about it in terms of the long term. All right. So once you make that move that you know was correct, think about that this play was profitable over the long run. Poker is not a short-term game, it's a long-term game. We're looking to make profitable decisions over the long run, because no matter what we do, if we continue to make profitable decisions over the long run, we're going to make money. If we induce more mistakes in our opponent and we minimize the mistakes that we make money. It's that simple. So one of the ways to do this is to constantly think about the long-term aspect of the game, so then you think, you know what, yeah, I did the right thing here, and it didn't work out tonight, but it will work out for me in the long run. Because there's nothing else you can do. You can't control whether the cards are going to come. You can't control the cards, and you can't control your opponents. So you really have to, sacrifice it to the poker gods and know that over the long run, the poker gods will reward you. It's not just going to be constant bad beat after bad beat. And I hear it all the time. Players come to me, you don't understand, man. You don't understand. Like, I've been getting bad beat after bad beat after bad beat. I do everything right. And I'm sitting there like, yeah. I get you. I know it's hard, but I guarantee you're not playing perfect poker. I guarantee that. I can promise you that. I can promise you have leaks in your game. I can promise you have things to look at or things to get better at. And it's just one of those things. Like, I know I've been through that. I went through 3 months of just the worst downswing of my life. It was just, I went through like half a roll. It was terrible. And part of it was because, I was just running bad, and no matter what I did, I kept, set over set and constant. But I was also making mistakes, and that's one of the things I did, was shift the blame towards myself and think, okay, this is a long-term game, and maybe I should drop down in a couple levels, because right now I can't handle this. And I'll talk about that in one of my poker mistakes videos, is how I handle downswings, which probably wasn't the best, but it is. I learned from it at least. All right, so in the next video, I'll talk about some other different ways some alternative methods to dealing with tilt.